This is the Try Swim Coach podcast, where the most difficult leg of the triathlon becomes your friend, leaving your struggles and your competition behind you. TrySwimCoach.com, helping you to laugh at the water.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Try Swim Coach. This is Kevin, and this is episode number 130. And in just a minute, I have an interview coming up with Jason Ryer, and we talk about all the benefits of fasting. So it's really an interesting chat. It's kind of a shorter one. We did it as a Facebook Live, and that didn't really turn out. Somehow the video got screwed up, but now I'm releasing the audio as a podcast. So I think you can get a lot out of this, whether you are trying to improve your health in some way, trying to get over, maybe lose some weight, or even get faster in your triathlons and you're better in your swimming. So stay tuned for that in just a minute. And by the way, I think it got cut off at the end. There was a URL that we were giving out. The URL is zenstrength.fitness/fasting. So that was the URL we gave at the end. Before we get to that interview, I have one quick favor I'd like to ask you. I had an unfortunate technical issue that went wrong with the podcast, and it's a long story, but my artwork for iTunes wasn't showing up. So I had to switch basically where the podcast is hosted. And somehow that triggered something in iTunes, and the ranking of my podcast went from number 2 to number 11. That was pretty sad because, not as many people are going to find the Try Swim Coach podcast, and we really want to get as many people as possible to find us. So if you could take a couple minutes and go to iTunes, if you're on Apple, or even if you're not on Apple, you can still go to iTunes and just give us a quick rating, preferably a 5-star rating and a review. That would be awesome. Anything that you're getting out of this show, it would really be helpful to get us back up into the higher rankings. That would be great because then we can attract better people onto the show as well. So it just helps everybody. Yeah, I normally don't talk about like what's going on with the show. I know other shows like to get into like how many downloads they get and how many subscribers, but I don't think that's very interesting. But I do think that the higher we can get up there in iTunes, the better it is for attracting the quality of guests and keeping the thing going in general. So anyway, I hope you're having a happy new year and everything's going well to the start of January. I look forward to seeing you soon in our Try Swim Success group on Facebook, and go out there and have a great week of training and a great year of fitness and training and swimming and triathlon. And we'll be talking to you soon. All right, we're live. Hey guys, this is kind of an impromptu Facebook Live for the Try Swim Pro member group. And it's kind of came up. So a few days ago, I was talking to my buddy Jason, who's in the window over here. And he does a lot of work with fasting and both intermittent fasting and then longer term fasting and all kinds of ways to improve your health with using fasting. And so let's just get right into it. So this is Jason Ryer, and his website is zenstrength.fitness. And he's a health coach, he's a Bulletproof coach, and he works with all kinds of different people, from weight loss clients to athletes to everything in between. I think you work with a lot of different ages too, but I'll let you talk about that. Anyway, welcome Jason, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you for the introduction. So this is, like you said, a quick call. We both got things to do, so we both got to run quickly. But my background, Kevin pretty much wrapped it up in terms of the health and fitness sides of things. A bit more on my background is that, I'm originally started geeking out on that years ago, and I've gone further and further down health and wellness to the point where I got certified as a coach, as a Bulletproof coach, which is now, I believe we're called human performance coaches or human upgrade performance coaches. I'm not sure exactly what the title is, but they changed that. And I've been coaching people, I've been training people, and I've offered some courses and that sort of thing. I know we'll get into that later. And I've really dove into what we'll talk about now. I'll turn it back to you, Kevin, and let you ask the questions. But that's pretty much it for me.
Cool. Yeah. So I've done some fasting myself. I've done both intermittent fasting, and I've done a couple of your sort of like 2.5 day fasts, Jason. And so I've had limited experience with it. But what I wanted to find out about is, okay, so you are talking about fasting for health reasons. Now it's like New Year's resolution time. People are making all kinds of plans and goals, and they're doing things, everything from losing weight to like, I want to do a triathlon or whatever. So can you talk about some of the ways that fasting can help with those type of goals, like the New Year's resolutions, or even if it's just like, I want to run a 10K, would fasting be something that could help someone like that?
That's a good question. And those are the kinds of questions I get. So people are like, well, is fasting for me? And first of all, when I say fasting, we bring that up and people have different reactions depending on where they're coming from. So some people are just afraid of the term fasting because they think it's like starvation, going a long time without food and that sort of thing. And we can dive into that more about the myths and the fears and that sort of thing around fasting. But fasting is something that we do willingly as opposed to starvation, where we don't really have any control over it. So it's something we can do for different reasons. I mean, a lot of people do it for religious purposes. And to your point, Kevin, if we're into health and fitness, which I am, a little bit more about my background, I'm really into basketball and volleyball. I get out in the water and do a lot of like surfing and kayaking and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm always concerned about that as well. Like what happens? Like what are the risks and what are the benefits of fasting? So a lot of the benefits I think are pretty obvious. So fasting to lose weight is a big one for a lot of people. And for athletes, some people want to cut their weight to improve their performance. So certainly you want to do that. But the big thing, and I think athletes are probably more in tune to this, is that not do they just want to lose weight, but they want to maintain their lean body mass, their muscle mass, right? Or else they're going to lose that performance. And this is where fasting works really well, actually, as opposed to like doing a crash diet where you're just restricting calories chronically day after day. You're going to lose weight for sure, but you're going to lose a lot of lean body mass. But when you're fasting, your body actually conserves lean body mass. So that's really the big difference between fasting and caloric restriction. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, first of all. Mm-hmm. And then for athletes, it really depends, what kind of athlete you are. So some people want to build muscle and strength and mass. Some endurance athletes maybe want to cut their weight a little bit. So there's the weight part of it. But then there's also just kind of like the metabolic flexibility that people get. And that's one thing I want to put out there as well, is that when you're fasting, you're actually training your body to go without food, right? And to go without carbohydrates specifically. So I've felt from my experience, and this is one of the biggest benefits for me as an athlete, is that I can get out and just go snowboarding in the morning and not worry about food. So it used to be the case that, I need to eat a big breakfast and then get ready, like bring a bunch of granola bars and snacks with me, put them in my pockets, and then go out and go snowboarding, and then make sure I'm eating to keep my calories up. Mm-hmm. And now it's to the point where, if we have a good powder day and, if you ski or snowboard, this, like if there's good snow, you don't want to mess around. You just want to get out there and get those fresh tracks. And so that's what I do now. I don't worry about eating breakfast. I just go out and I can go ride for, 3 or 4 hours, no problem, without even worrying about food. So this is something that I think athletes would really be interested in.
Yeah, especially like going out, I know a lot of our tri-swim people, they're going out on these long bike rides, like even 100 miles, some people even more than 100 miles. Like it's a problem because traditionally endurance sports, as you know, it's like you go out on these long rides and you just fuel with carbs. Like there's nothing else. There's just like these sugary drinks and the gels and like whatever, the blocks, the Cliff blocks, and they're just pure sugar, So how could fasting help with that? Like, is it something where they would just get by with less calories if they practice fasting? Or
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a bit of an evolution. And this is where some people don't have the patience. They try fasting or they try a ketogenic diet and they write it off after a few weeks. They're like, well, that didn't work. And the fact of the matter is that it could take years to fully adapt and really get a lot of benefits. Although I think a lot of people will see benefits fairly quickly. Mm-hmm. So it's really getting your body to the point where you're not dependent so much on glucose. And when you're dependent on glucose and carbohydrates, then you're going to have that crash. You're going to bonk. Yeah. Right? Once your glycogen stores are depleted, your body it shuts down. You have this biological response that you can't go any further. Whereas if you're more fat adapted, your body's like, oh, well, we're out of glycogen stores. We've done this before and we know what to do. So we'll switch over to burning fat and oxidizing fat for fuel. And beyond that, your liver starts producing ketones for energy, which is really good for brain function and body function as well. And it seems to work. I mean, the science is coming out. You can switch over to, an intermittent fasting lifestyle or a ketogenic diet. And I'm going to use those interchangeably a little bit, especially for the endurance athletes, because this is where you can really get the benefit of burning fuel for energy. You don't have to worry so much about glucose and that sort of thing. And then the other one, metabolically, what happens American diet where we're eating and grazing and snacking all day long, maybe 3 to 5 meals every day, snacks in between. We're really not giving our body enough time to rest, to digest, to recover, and do its natural process. And part of this is producing growth hormone, mm-hmm. which helps for recovery, it helps for fat burning, it helps for building muscle. It helps for your sleep. It helps for a lot of different things. So this is where athletes are really finding these benefits from fasting and intermittent fasting. And we can go into the different kinds of fasting if you want, Kevin.
Yeah, that was actually my next question is like, what exactly are we talking about? Because I think people don't quite understand the term fasting. There's this whole notion of cleansing or detoxing or whatever. And I think this is quite different from that. And then also the idea of intermittent fasting versus a longer term fast. Like what would be the differences there?
Yeah, and I see I know these are buzzwords like cleanse and detox, but I see fasting as like the ultimate cleanse and detox. And there are different ways to go about it. I was just talking to my cousin and he was interested in the fasting program. And I asked him about his experience. And he's like, well, I had some friends in college who were drinking like lemon juice and doing some kind of cleanse. And I'm like, oh yeah, the lemon juice cleanse. I tried that. Did not work for me at all. Yeah. And I actually ended up getting sick afterwards. I tried doing lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup for like 3 days. And it destroyed me. I got to the point where I just couldn't drink it anymore. Yeah. And I was brushing my teeth just so I didn't have that hunger feeling, which I guess is one little tactical approach to get rid of hunger pangs. Yeah. But yeah, fasting, they're all different kinds. So, I like to say that anybody and everybody can and does fast. And so we're fasting every night when we sleep. And I think we can prove this semantically with the word breakfast. So the word breakfast is break fast. So when we eat our first meal in the day, we're technically breaking a fast. And hopefully we're all going 8 or so hours at night sleeping and not eating, right? So there's a lot of good things that are going on while we're sleeping at night. Mm-hmm. And what we can do with fasting, particularly what's called intermittent fasting, which is kind of a confusing term because it's now an umbrella term for any kind of fasting that's not more than like 24 hours, we would call like intermittent fasting. And so you can extend that. So this is where I tell people to start out, like just go, 12, 13 hours at night without food and see what happens. See if you can do that. Try to do that for a week and see how you feel. And I say 13 hours is kind of like the minimum effective dose. And that's based on a study where they looked at women in the recurrence of breast cancer. And they saw that after 13 hours of going without food, that the recurrence of breast cancer just dropped off the cliff, like almost 40%. So that, is a pretty good indication that the body was doing a lot to clean up. And then, there's different kinds of intermittent fasts. The popular one I'll start with is 16-8. So going 16 hours without food and having a so-called 8-hour eating window where you're eating. A lot of people skip breakfast, start eating at like 8 o'clock or maybe like noon to like 8 o'clock. And then there's like alternate day fasting. This one was really popular for a while. Yeah. So the alternate day fasting, there's the 5-2 fast where 2 days a week you restrict calories. These are actually calorie restrictions. So I don't really count those so much as fasting. But then you can do anything in between. Some people do 1 meal a day. Some people like to do 24 hours of fasting every once in a while. And so that's something I like to incorporate a few times a month and just to get that in there and make sure I'm doing things to clean up and detox. So yeah, and then the extended fasting when you're going for 2, 3, some people go 5, 10 days at a time without food. Right. I call these really therapeutic fasts where you're really doing cleanup processes. And this is something, is recommended, go see your doctor, make sure you're fit and you're healthy and you can do these sort of things before you dive right into it, because it can be a little bit dangerous, Sure. If you're not making sure you get the right amount of minerals and electrolytes and that sort of thing while you're fasting. So yeah, I'll stop there. But yeah, to sum up, basically start with a minimum effective dose of 13 hours and work your way up and see what works for you.
Yeah, cool. And what kind of results or what kind of benefits do you think someone should expect? Like just considering the audience here is mostly people that are, typically above 40 years old and doing triathlons, maybe doing 2 or 3 triathlons a year. And some of these triathlons are kind of the shorter distance ones. Some of them are the longer distance, but basically they're pretty busy training. Every day of the week is something. Maybe they have a rest day once a week, but the rest of the time they're on their bike, they're in the pool, they're going for a run. What kinds of benefits could you tie in fasting to that kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, it's probably the same thing I talked about in terms of if you're fasting, you're getting that metabolic flexibility and you're cleaning up. Yeah. You're doing your body a favor in terms of recovery, cleaning up old and dying cells. Essentially, you're going to live longer. To some extent, those are two opposing forces, like doing hardcore endurance exercise and living like a healthy lifestyle. And so there are kind of ways to do that, because I think for a lot of people, if you're doing the endurance stuff, then you're putting a lot of stress on your body. Sure. And that's where I think a lot of athletes are realizing, well, maybe that's not sustainable for too long. Some people will do it for a career and then decide, okay, well, I need to switch things up a little bit. But yeah, I would recommend actually for people who are like training, like day in, day out, then you're not going to have a long fasting window, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for those people, maybe when they do have a day off, that's when you can dial back the calories, dial back the window of eating, and get some of those benefits, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, what I tell people, if you have hard training days, then you're going to need those calories, right? You need the energy. So that's when you want to eat more carbs and protein and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. So maybe more of an intermittent fast for people that are doing more of the hardcore training.
And that's the beauty of intermittent fasting is that, you can do it intermittently depending on your own needs and your own situation.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can still incorporate, maybe I'll fast for 24 hours once a month.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're training hard, you can pick a day where you can do some cleanup and recovery. And what's interesting with some resistance and weight trainers, like bodybuilders, weightlifters, that sort of thing, I see some of them doing 3-day fasts once a month. And the reason behind that is they get that big spike in growth hormone.
Yep.
So they basically take some time off, get that big spike in growth hormone, and then they see their lifts go up. They get stronger.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. So you have a program. I wanted to find out more about that. Have you talk a little bit about your actual fasting program?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we talked about some of the benefits, burning fat, building muscle, boosting your productivity and focus because you get more time, more energy, more brain power, detoxing and cleansing. And so that's recovering faster from workouts and injuries, having healthy skin, joints, and bones, and then reducing your risk for things like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and stroke. And these are some of the associations, right? And this is not definitive, because for those kinds of diseases, it's not just one thing that affects them, it's everything. And I would say if you want to pick one thing to focus on, sleep. Definitely get more sleep and you'll get more benefit in everything you do. Don't fast if you're not sleeping enough at night, right? So that's kind of the number one thing I just want to get out of the way. But yeah, for the challenge, basically, you'll learn different fasting benefits, the types of fast, myths, risks, tips, and frequently asked questions around fasting. You learn like why you eat too much, as well as the psychology and biology behind food and fasting. You learn fasting to burn fat and for ketosis, to cleanse, detox, and heal your body, and how to use fasting to really boost focus and productivity. And then how exercise works with fasting, how to make fasting easier and more effective with different fasting biohacks. And then getting into, like I said, therapeutic fasting for things like cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. So what we do in the program is we practice fasting with a group of peers. We get together, we track and share what we eat, when we eat, and then we stay accountable with one-on-one coaching and a group support, and then learn how food and fasting affects your body and your mind. And then we do it as a challenge, so you earn points and compete for prizes as you complete daily lessons and assignments for like a fun and friendly competition. And I think, Kevin, we did that in kind of the mini kind of challenges that we did just over a couple of days.
I won, by the way. I won.
You did win, yeah. I owe you a prize.
That's right.
we never got around to talking.
Yeah, I never got my prize. Yeah, what happened?
I know, right? We'll sign up for the next one.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, the next challenge, Fasting Fat Burn Fast Challenge, starts on January 16th. It runs for 6 weeks, limited to just 15 students. And just for frame of reference, for private one-on-one coaching, I charge $2,500 for 3 months. The full price for the course is $997. Kevin, I'm extending to you and your audience and your followers a $500 discount. So they can get it now for $497.
Awesome.
As long as it's still available. And there's a money-back guarantee. So, if you don't like it for any reason, they don't like it for any reason, just let me know. They get their money back. And again, that's at zenstrength.fitness/fasting-program.
Okay, we'll have to come up with a URL that's a little bit easier to write down. Before we sign off, you can go to Jason's site to sign up. So starting next Wednesday, the 16th, right?
That's right. Yeah, Wednesday the 16th,
Cool.
We'll get started. We'll kick things off. We'll do live weekly calls, daily tasks. I'm excited. It's been fun in the past, so I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah. Great. And I think it'll help a lot of people, especially this time of year. A lot of people in the tri-swim community, they sign up for races in like April, May, June, July, August, that time frame. And so now is the time to really take care of a lot of this kind of thing. Start off on the right foot. And then by the time the spring rolls around, you'll be in like really great shape.
Absolutely. I'm free to answer questions. So if anybody wants to reach out to me.
What's your, you want to give out your email or?
Yeah, my email is jason@zenstrength.fitness.
Cool.
So yeah, anybody can reach out, and I'm happy to chat and answer questions.
Awesome. Cool. We'll wrap it up there. And thanks, man, for coming on. That was awesome. I think that was a wealth of information. So I think people really enjoy this one.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Try Swim Coach podcast. If you like this show, consider giving us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we'll read it off on the next show. And to get the latest triathlon swimming tips, tricks, blogs, and podcasts, go to tryswimcoach.com. See you next time. Until then, befriend the water.